Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Off the Record. In today's episode, I'm doing something a little different, a question and answer session. Over the last few months, I received thoughtful messages and questions about my writing projects and my athletic career. Today, I want to respond to those questions directly. Let's get into it. The first question is from a friend. Hi, Michael. One question listeners may want to know is if you still play basketball with your friends or former teammates. Or do you volunteer or coach kids who aspire to be as great a player as you were? Thank you for the question. I don't play basketball anymore. It's been at least 20 years since I've had an active basketball experience. My interest in coaching has come to me at different times of my life. And unfortunately, most of those times, my life has been complicated due to travel, location, and just hasn't not been able to work out. I've had great experiences in coaching at basketball camps, coaching my college roommates during intramural play. That was great fun and great experiences for me. A question from a friend. Michael, did you have any clue that your past sports experience would affect your whole life? Looking back in retrospect, would you have done anything different because of it? Wow. Complicated questions. Let's see if I can answer them cleanly. I did expect athletics to impact my life. I wanted that. The complications that come from it are really due to youth, inexperience, and sort of don't know what you're getting into. And those are the situations that you just really can't see coming. My immediate reaction to the second question is no. I wouldn't do anything different. All those experiences made me who I am today, good or bad. A reader sent in this thoughtful question. Michael, what inspired you to write Before the Line? The inspiration to write Before the Line came from my desire to learn more about the audience I was hoping to engage in my writing projects, over time and currently with the memoir. The stories included in Before the Line are sort of an amalgamation of all the stories, which really got into what I saw as highlights or stand posts within the story. I think that's something that I wanted to address, get people involved with the story, create some conversations, and I believe it's done that. Someone messaged me after the last episode and asked Michael, what has been the hardest part of writing your memoir and the most rewarding? Let me be very honest. Writing is the hardest thing I've ever done. The most rewarding was completing the manuscript and holding it together. This question came from a former high school competitor. You were a standout athlete. What did basketball mean to you then, and how do you see it now? Basketball was a vehicle for me to express myself then, as a young person. My verbal communication skills were a challenge, and my physical manifestations was my tool for people to see me. The dichotomy was that the veneer that was created, where it presented me as having it all together. And underneath, I was admittedly struggling. How do I see basketball now? I see it as somewhat of a tool for me to grow, a tool for me to express myself, as I've said earlier, but also that tool gave me the opportunity to play everywhere against great athletes, meet a lot of great people, open doors for me that I didn't know were even there. That's what it means to me now. Michael, were there moments in your playing career that you now see differently because of your writing? This was a question from a friend. Most definitely. When I was writing about those moments, I was much harder on myself than I thought I would be. Back then, you're seeking perfection. And now, when I was writing, I could see it as sort of this crazy goal, which was unattainable. Back then, though, that was my reality. Of all the questions or curiosity surrounding my memoir, this is the most common question I've received. How did your athletic success affect my identity off the court as a student, son, or friend? My success in basketball wrapped up my identity. That success drew people to me and my family. It was a weird experience for all of us. Seeing people respond to you and be ready to give you almost anything to have that proximity to success. All of this leaked into every part of my life. Friendships came and went without pause. My friends who were friends prior to my success remained close to me. I could trust them. I tried to be a good kid, tried to be a good son, tried to be kind and honest. I understood what my parents expected of me. That was never a problem until it was. The totality of everything became a force that was troublesome to navigate, not just for me, but for my family. Michael, what were the personal costs of early success? As I've stated previously, in some respects, it's incalculable. But it was purposeful for me. I understood they were going to be personal decisions. And for some, they would have been difficult decisions. But if there was something standing in my way and basketball was the alternative, that was an easy decision for me. Where I thought all my experience would be this tremendous asset in the end, it became this burden of proof that I had to pay. A question for one of my LinkedIn contacts. Michael, how do you hope Course of Reflection will resonate with readers, especially young athletes or families? This is an important question, and I've struggled to try to come up with not the answer, but making sure I address it as I've written. My initial thoughts were the families and parents and athletes and how important it is to create an established space. These are spaces where people can ensure security and safety. Not so much physical presence, but the emotional connection between the individual and their own personal lives. These spaces create and transform how they interact with others. The last question from a friend. Michael, if someone only had 5 minutes to hear your story, what would you want them to know? This is a story about someone who has success at a notably early age, who had to grow up quickly to grapple with that success, how his family had to respond to that. It's a story of success, mental health struggles, and more importantly, the story about resilience, something I haven't spoke about much, but it is a theme throughout the memoir. Thanks again for all your support and your questions. If you're enjoying this series or have questions for future episodes, reach out through social media or my Substack page. Until next time, stay well. I'll see you soon.